Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome back to From the Depths, Quick Guides. Now this is a wee little quick guide on a thing that is not something new. I didn't come up with this by any means, it's been around for a while, but I figured out how to do it and I thought, you know what, let's share the love because quite frankly I am very, very fond of it. And so what is it going to be the topic today? Well, you'll notice we have a hull, or rather a raft, that is rocking and rolling, and it has all the essentials. It has a power source, batteries and RTGs in this case, it's got an AI, it's got a seat for Rambot, it's even got PIDs, it's got some roll props and a pitch prop in front here, just for giggles, and also so we don't have to mess around with it too much, and it even has a flag, but it is missing two things, propulsion and steering. And the trick I figured out, which I must emphasize again, is not a new one. It's been around since, I think, the beginning, when this game was first released. Well, put on Steam. And that is Spinblock steering. So, what I have found is... What have I found? What I'm going to show you now is a convenient way to combine both propulsion and steering. So normally what you would do is that you would stick, in this case, you would stick propellers, like so, and maybe you'd have something like this, and then you'd have a rudder like this, seeing as this is a ship, and that's really ugly, by the way. So you can steer it around, and it should function reasonably well. See, it turns, and it steers, and it's all very nice. However, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to be clever, or, as tends to be the case I so often find myself in, maybe your ship is too long or too big to be steered just in a satisfactory way with rudders, and maybe you don't want to put turning props on it. So let's do that again, and this time we're going to add a turning prop right here on the back, actually. Let's do this. So that's a turning prop, and once again we can do this and it turns just fine. Okay, now we get into the actual magic of the thing, or the fun bit rather. You can use spin blocks to be simultaneous propulsion and steering. So in order to do that, first you need a spin block. That's the turret, not a spin block, and it helps to make sure the thing is facing forward. The first time I tried this I put it backwards, which is not the best idea to do. And so we put it like there. You'll notice we're upside down. That is okay. And I'm just going to put a pole here, and then I'm going to put a big propeller. Like so. And this thing is functionally a propulsion prop, because you can see here it's set to respond to the forward command and main drive and full power scale and all that stuff. The presets for pushing and roll and stuff is disabled on spin blocks, so you have to do this manually, but it's not terribly complicated to figure out. In this case, it responds to forward, so this is a main drive prop. If I decide to tell this thing to go forward, so I'm gonna hit U now, it responds to that just fine. And I need to do this like that, and there we go. So now all you need to do, because this is the only prop I'm going to put on this wee raft, is I'm going to whip out something I prepared earlier, and that is some ACBs. For those of you who don't know, I really love ACBs, and I just remembered that this thing needs to... Is it correct? Yes, it is. It is very much correct. So there's three ACBs here. The first one is set to... If the yaw command, or the steering command, is none, it sets spin blocks to a rotation degree of 0%. So rotate 0 degrees, so basically don't move. Or rather, stay pointing the direction it's pointing. And then, if the yaw command is left, it'll rotate the spin block to 45 degrees. So if I demonstrate that now, left H, 45 degrees, looks like that. Let's see that again. Now. And the last ACB is, if your command is right, set it to negative 45 degrees. Like that. And the AI will control that. So if the AI tells the thing to turn right or left, the ACBs will trigger and this will steer it, and it's really nice. Strictly speaking, you don't need to set that to 45 degrees, I just like that angle. You don't want to set it to 90 degrees or anything greater than that, because if you do that, and I'll just show you what I mean like that, so if we set it to 90, because you might want to be really cute, you might get this thing where the thing just, it does this, and then it turns around, and then it messes with the whole thing's propulsion, and that's not a good idea. So, I'm going to set this back to 45, because that's a nice, shallow enough angle to do that, and let's go. So this does, this propeller is quite a bit below the center of drag and the center of mass, which is why this thing is doing a fascinating Tokyo lean right now. So you actually want to get this lined up perfectly with the center of drag as much as you can. This thing is a little bit too flat to do that, so that's not really an option. But yeah, so it's really straightforward, and I love it. And if you want to be super clever, you can do this. You can save this as a sub-object, and you can stick it all along the underside of your craft, like so. I'm going to stick this one way over here on the front, just here, and I'm going to have these ACBs up here again, but I'm going to reverse them. So, see here, if I hit Q, if I hit, where am I going? I'm going left, so if I hit H, they steer the same way, and that's, oh, hello. And that's not a good thing, because it means that one side will go one way, and the other side will go the other, and it will flip over, which is not good. You see it's not turning, because both ends are trying to go in the same direction. So what you do is you reverse the ones controlling the front ones. So this one is -45. Set that to 45. This one is positive, so set that to negative. And this thing, there's a reason I stuck roll props on this, is because for a little raft, demo raft that is this flat and small, you kind of need the roll props. So now we do that, and look at this thing turn. And the front one is actually balancing out the rear one, which is really, really nice. The thing is zipping along quite nicely, and that is a huge success. And there's no excess power to worry. There's no waste of power. There's no excess blocks, because 100% of this thing's propulsion is being put into steering this craft, which is super cool. And in case you're wondering, this exact same ACB setup works with large rudders. So if I delete this guy right here, and I get another spin block in, and actually if I do that, if I do this now, so this is, think of this as like a free large rudder tutorial as well. So if we go here, large rudder, these are all for basically decorative. You can just do this, 2 blocks will do it. And where are we? Where are we? We're gonna go right here, 3, and boop, and small propellers, boop. So boop. So it is turn. Actually, let's have large props. Bad BorderWise, don't be lazy. You did this just. Oh darn it! You did this just earlier just to see. There we go, and stick a large prop right here. Now let's see this thing steer, and it steers just fine. So the same ACB setup works for those kind of Spinblock steering props / propulsion, and for large rudders. So quite easy to remember. I just did that thing where I referred to something in From the Depths as easy. I have a personal policy of not doing that, because it's not very cool. But that's basically it. And so now I will show you a few things I made earlier. So here is a steering props test. This is where I learned how to do this. It's kind of it's got quite a few props and roll props as well. So lots of little steering props, and this thing is 100% prop driven. And let's spawn in something for this to run circles around. It's very fast. It is, in fact, so fast that it needs pitch controlling jets in the front to keep its nose down. It zips along at, yep, 50 meters per second. And it uses not an awful lot of power for that. It's using, I don't know, in total it looks to be about 500 power at most for all these large props right here. And all these propellers are on spin blocks, and they're all contributing both to it moving forward and moving sideways. And it means it turns really quickly. And it's pretty hard to hit. And it's just, I am really looking forward to making like a patrol boat. A fast one. Very similar to this actually, but with actual stuff on it. In case you're wondering what the insides look like, it's just, it's RTGs, batteries, and an AI, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, one thing to note, again, with Spinblock propellers is that they do not have to worry about being blocked off. So if I stick a propeller here, like just a regular propeller, and keep in mind there's a Spinblock here, this is not blocked. This still, when this thing spins, it'll still push the thing forward, because it doesn't account for sub-objects at all to be blocked. Just to compare that, I'm going to put another prop here, just so you know what I'm talking about. This one has not enough free room behind efficient. Nick, spelling mistake. Should say efficiency. Greatly reduced. So yeah. Which is why, this is kind of why spin block props have, for the most part, been kind of a cheesy thing in From the Depths. Like, I don't know, you can hide them within the hull, you can stack them, well, much like this actually, and just jam a huge amount of props into a small space. So I prefer not to do that, but everyone has their own personal levels of acceptable cheese and just exploit-ishness. I was about to say exploitation, but that, I don't know, it's a little extreme for a video game like this to call it that. But yeah, so just keep that in mind. You can abuse that function if you want to. I personally don't want to. And then yeah, and I just was messing around, and this works with jets as well. It just works with everything. So this is exactly the same craft, it's just been modified to use jets. See, it's got little spin block jets here, there, and everywhere. It's just really great. It zips along at 80 meters per second. It doesn't really slow down when turning, simply because, like, it just has so much force steering it. So it just continually stays at roughly, well, between 70 to 80 meters per second, which is very nice. It does mean you have to be kind of, like, you can stick these kind of turning thrusters, be they props or jets or anything, on the underside, but you can stick them anywhere. I could have stuck them on top here, like on top of these side jets right here. I just wanted to make this thing really fast. And final showcase, it works in space. I like making versions of things which are boats. Well, I make things which are boats, and then they're like airships, and then they're spacecraft. Like, I don't know, it's just hilarious and fun to me. This thing will eventually get into the sky. Honestly, I just like how ion jets work. It's like, well, how they look, rather. Just the blue and the, like, cylindrical stuff. If that Marauder actually hits me, I'm gonna be so annoyed. Wow, it, like, whiffed by inches. This is the flattest spacecraft in the world. So yeah, this thing is eventually gonna cruise off into the sky. It's going to be hilarious and cool. But yeah. And now, those are all test craft, and you might be thinking to yourself, BorderWise, come on now. We want to see an actual functional finished craft that uses this. Well, okay then. I will indulge you, dear viewer. No one can say that I don't, well, I don't know. I don't know where that thought was going. Like, I try to show people what they want to see. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Also, I had the brilliant idea of building the submarine. Yeah, this is a submarine. and I can't pronounce that. Like, I looked up how to pronounce that, and I still can't pronounce it, so, yeah, that's my bad. So this is a submarine I made for giggles, because I realized earlier today that I have not built a submarine at Dog's Age. Reasonably straightforward, it's just the same really idiot-proof PID setup I usually use, which is just, it's just kind of, just, I forget what the settings actually are, I should really share that at some point. But yeah, it's a prefab that I stick on everything. It's got torpedoes in the front, small ones, and it has a steering prop in the back here. So that middle large propeller is on a spin block, and that's all it needs to steer, and it steers quite well. I should really rename this thing and paint it black. But yeah, this is the axolotl, I think it's called. Well, that's how I read it. Also, if you ever plan to build a submarine and you want to use PIDs for that, keep in mind to set the altitude to above terrain, or something like that, because that is automatic terrain avoidance, almost. Because this little guy can quite happily dodge terrain, and on the AI itself, I should show you that. This is turning into bonus content. Wrong one. Okay, so over here, the adjustments. Set the terrain height prediction time to 10 seconds, because there's no reason to set it lower than that. You want this thing to not run into anything. Let's see how the Marauder's doing. Lots of explosions. Lots of EMP. Yeah, I quite like this thing. It's very basic shape here, and got rubber on it. But yeah, so this little spin block prop here is doing all the steering it needs, and we just hit bottom, but that's okay because we have rubber. Always wear your rubber, people, for safety. And yeah, that's spin block steering and propulsion. And you can use that for large rudders, you can use that for propellers, you can use that for jets, you can use that for like ion engines, and probably even custom jets as well, and eddy blades. So it works for everything, and I am absolutely in love with it. And look forward to the stuff I build in the future that just has lots of that. So yeah, that's basically it. So thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon if you like, it really helps. Thank you to all my current Patreon supporters, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Farewell!